the land of the free and the home of the brave, a shining city on a hill, the greatest country in the world. Remember the days that was the way the United States was described? Me too. Happy lunch hour, guys. Okay. I'm going to go into something here real quick. A lot of times it's very beneficial to get an outsider's view of things that you're looking at. I think we'd all agree. A second opinion, if you want to use that. You know, doctor tells you, oh my God, you've got 6 months to live, and what do? You go see another doctor and say, what do you think? Okay. I have an advantage here. I have a wife who was not born in this country. Mrs. P's now been here for about almost 8 years now. Okay, 2015. So it's nice sometimes to see what her views are on what's going on in this country, considering she grew up in the Soviet Union. Okay, I mean, mind you, Mrs. P was 14 years old when the Soviet Union fell. Right, so she remembers everything that was going on through her childhood, and then she lived through the changeover into what Russia is now. So we've been talking about this, and Mrs. P came up with her 7 points that this is why America's in a world of trouble. Okay. She agrees with everything that we talk about. She just sees it through a different set of eyes, and that's what's important. So I wanted to give you her 7 ideas. I asked her to do the video, but y'all know she's not exactly camera friendly. She's camera shy. So she asked me to discuss all this, so I thought I would, but I thought this was pretty poignant. So her number 1 thing that she sees, okay, the threat from South America. Anybody talked about that? I haven't heard anybody else talk about it whatsoever. It's like, ooh, ears perked. Want to hear what her thoughts are. The anti-American sentiment that's going on in Argentina, Brazil, Venezuela, Mexico, Peru, all of which are drifting further and further and further left. Okay. As she pointed out, Maduro has realized that now is the perfect time to try and turn all of Latin America against the United States. Okay? And how could that be? Let's think about Joe and his lovely southern border policies. Okay? As she put it, a fire in the Latin countries is fraught with a fire in America itself. Why? How many people are coming up here? We don't have any clue about all these people that are coming up across the southern border, what they're really here for, okay? Very good point. You know, we see, Argentina and Brazil are trying to figure out how to commingle their currency to make a one currency for the 2 countries because they don't want to use the dollar, okay? The second thing that she was talking about, the threat of default, that this could throw the world into complete turmoil. Now, we've talked about the debt ceiling and everything, and I've talked about defaulting on bonds, etc. But how quickly would that accelerate exactly what you talked about in her point 1? Okay. A lot of Central American currencies, let's use Panama, for example, pegged to the U.S. dollar. U.S. dollar collapses, so does Panama's economy. Its currency is directly 1-to-1 pegged to the currency. How much do you think that might piss off the people in Panama? Okay. Number 3, the split of the political system. She's seen this firsthand. Okay, what happens to political opponents in the Soviet Union? They're executed. Okay, even now you still see what's going on with, let's just say, Russia and Ukraine. Political opponents are jailed or disappear or die. Okay? As she put it, she goes, it's time for the United States to focus specifically on the problems on our continent, on us. The hell with the rest of the world. As she put it, forget about Eastern Europe for a while. And she started going through the whole Monroe Doctrine, which she's spot on right. Okay? Europe doesn't meddle that much in what goes on in the United States. But damn, if we don't completely meddle in everything that goes on in Europe, like it matters at all, okay? And this is going to be our downfall because all we do, the United States does during this, is piss off everybody else. And eventually, guys, it's going to come to the point where it's going to be the whole world against us, okay? And again, she's speaking from experience, okay? What you see when the Soviet Union, it was pretty much the whole world against the Soviet Union. I think she might have an idea on how that one plays out, okay? The fourth problem, okay, as she put it, the gradual withdrawal of Western European countries from the influence of the United States, like Germany announcing its intention to create the most powerful army in Europe, using the pretext, of course, using the pretext of the war between Russia and Ukraine right now. Okay. Now this one, I'll say my piece. Fine, go ahead, Germany, do it. Stop using our money to support you. Okay, I've told you before. I mean, I'm absolutely fed up with Germany going, yeah, we pay, we've got enough money of our own military, maybe defend our country for a day, but the U.S. will pay for everything. Okay. But again, remember, she's coming from a European point of view. All right. And so as the Western countries drift further and further away from what used to be a very democratic country and turning much more toward the socialist idea. And again, look at any of the leaders that you have in Great Britain, in Germany, in France. I mean, minus maybe Poland, Hungary, and Italy, pretty much the rest of Europe is going back toward socialist ways. The funny part is the Eastern European countries are the ones that are resisting it, and the Western European countries are going, yeah, we want to be a socialist country. Anybody remember what happened between, let's say about 1940 and 1990? Yeah, because the Eastern European countries were doing so freaking well under socialism. Okay. The fifth problem, as she sees, of course, and we all see this one, the war between Russia and Ukraine. Get out. Let the two of them duke it out on their own. That's it. And, like she said, Ukraine is not a NATO ally. They're not part of the EU. They're not, whatever would be. And as she said, Zelensky's the greatest grifter in the history of the world. I think we all agree there. The sixth problem she points out, the countries of the Persian Gulf, their unwillingness to negotiate oil prices. Okay. Sorry, guys, the Middle East ain't our friends. Okay. There's a reason why gas costs us $4 a gallon and it costs 10 cents in Iraq. And don't give me that they don't have to ship it that far. Okay. They're milking us for everything we can. And again, it's the idea of taking as much money away from the United States. All they're trying to do, guys, every other country in the world, is weaken us and weaken us and weaken us. And our government is helping them. Okay. And of course, as she pointed out, the seventh problem is China. All right. Economic growth, the Chinese building their navy like crazy. I mean, let's look at, Taiwan and everything. I mean, what was it? It wasn't that many years ago. China had, a navy. I think that they had 2 aircraft carriers or whatever that they bought from the Soviets. Okay. And it was, stick a cork in it to make sure it doesn't sink. But, now all of a sudden, China's been building up their military like crazy. Who's paying for it? You and me, okay? Because everything that we buy that's made in China is being used by the government over there to go, hey, you know what? We'll build more ships. We'll build more helicopters. We'll build more tanks, whatever it would be, so we can take over. As she put it, and again, mind you, she pays attention to what's going on in the Russian society, people, okay? Watching YouTube videos from normal Russians or whatever, talking about what the mentality is there, or what the thought process is. And she's got the same thing, that world war is felt in the air, okay? conflict in Taiwan. She brings up other ones that we never hear about too. Turkey and Greece, okay? Armenia and Azerbaijan. Of course, everything going on in Latin America, all right? Civil war is going to, potentially happen in a lot of countries, guys, okay? Because the polarity between left and right around the world is causing a great chasm, not just here in the United States. It happens everywhere else in the world. And this division is not good anywhere. Okay? As she quoted here, against this backdrop, America, the only way America survives is if we stand united. Okay? And of course, what's the Biden government doing? They're doing everything they can to divide us and divide us and divide us. There's no hope if that's what happens. Okay. One side will fall, left or right. I think we all know which side we hope falls, okay? Which side we're going to fight to the death to make sure never gets entrenched into our society. There's a whole lot of other countries in the world that may not be the same thing. Remember, we have that little thing called the Second Amendment that lets us fight back. But when you get into a situation like, say, Venezuela's in right now, where the people are so hungry, they're spending more time digging through dumpsters for food. They don't have any time to try to fight back against the government. And at that point, the government just steamrolls them all. That's why we prep. So the point is, so we can stand our ground, so we can fight back. Because if it ever got to the point where we were digging through dumpsters for food, Biden and his whole bunch of Satanists will just run roughshod across the entire country. Thoughts from somebody besides me?